This card is fake. Her voice didn't just echo, it detonated. Patricia Langford, red dress stretched tight across a frame used to owning rooms, pointed straight at Ava, one hand on her husband's shoulder, the other jabbing like a prosecutor. Loud, delighted, cruel. At that moment, the orchestra in the corner hit a rest. The ballroom quieted not out of politeness, but the kind of tension that spreads when someone rich thinks they've caught a fraud. Ava Monroe didn't flinch. She sat perfectly still at the round white linen table, surrounded by candlelight and plated sea base. Her skin shimmered naturally under the chandelier, not because she was trying to be seen, but because they never expected her to be there. A server in tuxedo bent forward, hesitating. The card in his hand, Ava's, was titanium blue, clean, heavy. But now, in his palm, it felt like a live grenade. I'll just take this to verify, ma'am, he mumbled. Patricia rolled her eyes so hard the diamonds on her ears wobbled. Please do, she sneered. It probably unlocks a gym locker. Laughter. Not loud, but just enough. One man across the table, mid-60 seconds, white hair, tuxedo too tight, chuckled and turned away, suddenly fascinated by his champagne. Ava didn't blink. She looked at no one. Not the server, not Patricia, not the guests now whispering. Her hands were calmly folded in her lap, as if this wasn't the 10th time this month someone tried to drag her dignity through marble floors. She'd seen this before. Not this ballroom, not this dress code, but the energy. It was the same at 24, in Chicago, when a realtor handed her keys to the wrong car, assuming she was the assistant, not the buyer. The same at 31, at a board meeting in Geneva, when the moderator skipped her name on the agenda. The same again now. Another voice chimed in, a younger woman 2 tables over, whispering, but not quietly enough. She really thought no one would notice? Patricia laughed again, louder this time. Oh, honey, we notice everything here. Ava finally looked up. Not angry, not even disappointed, just present. A hush crept across the gala floor like fog over glass. Someone near the stage lifted a phone. Someone else mouthed, "Is she someone?" But no one dared say her name. Not yet. And before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Ava. The server returned. He didn't speak. He just leaned toward Patricia, whispered something. Her face froze, then twisted, then snapped back to the performance. Declined, told you. She didn't wait. She raised her arm. Security. We have a situation. Ava didn't move. Because this wasn't a scene. This was a test, and the room had already failed it. Ava didn't turn. She heard the words, felt the eyes, but still didn't move. 1 beat. 2. The room seemed to breathe around her, unsure whether to lean in or pull back. From behind, a security guard approached, late 30 seconds. Tall, stiff suit, unsure smile. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you. Before he finished, Patricia cut in, louder this time. She doesn't belong here. She's not on the donor list. She's not even dressed for the second row, let alone this table. The server, holding Ava's card, glanced nervously between them. His hand trembled slightly, blue titanium still between his fingers. Her card was declined, Patricia added, leaning toward the guard like they were on the same team. We both know what that means. Ava finally moved, not to speak, not to argue, just to reach for her phone. 1 swipe, 1 tap, a quiet vibration followed. Nothing dramatic, but it changed the room. Across the gala, at a table near the sponsors stage, a man in a silver tuxedo glanced at his watch, then stood, then walked out, phone to ear. The server still hadn't moved. Patricia snatched the card from his hand and slapped it on the table. There, try another one. Or do you only carry 1? She smirked, loud enough for everyone at the table to hear. Ava looked at the card, then at her. Her voice was low, precise. You're right, I only carry 1. She paused. Because I only answer to 1 name. That name didn't need to be said. Not yet, but the ripple started. The young woman at the next table leaned in. Wait, I've seen her before. On LinkedIn. On the 40 under 40 list. A manager from the Ritz kitchen slipped into the side door, whispering into his earpiece. Another man near the press row stood, eyes wide, camera hanging useless around his neck. The tension was no longer about a card. It was about a miscalculation. and the room was just starting to realize they hadn't embarrassed a guest. They'd provoked the wrong owner. Ava didn't stand. She didn't need to. The server tried to hand the card back. She waved it off gently. Keep it. Frame it. You'll want to remember this night. Then she looked at the security guard still frozen beside her, unsure what to do. I'm not leaving, she said calmly, but I am cleaning house. From the corner of the room, a thin vibration buzzed in the manager's earpiece. He stiffened. Across the ballroom, the man in the silver tux returned, now flanked by two others in tailored suits, badges clipped discreetly to their belts. They didn't walk to Ava. They walked to Patricia. Ma'am, can we speak with you for a moment? Patricia blinked, confused. Me? I'm not the problem. She has clearance, one of the men said, nodding toward Ava. You do not. Murmurs spread fast, faster than champagne, faster than panic. Ava finally stood, smooth, controlled, her voice still low, but now every word hit like a gavel. This event is under Monroe Holdings' jurisdiction as of 10 minutes ago. Every vendor, every contract, every guest pass all authorized by our board. Patricia laughed a dry, nervous bark. You're bluffing. This is a joke. Ava tilted her head. Jared, she said into her phone. Initiate Protocol Ritz 1. Freeze all accounts affiliated with Langford Group. Send termination notices to their hospitality partnerships, effective immediately. From her earpiece, a calm male voice replied, Confirmed, ma'am. Executing now. Patricia's husband, who'd been silent until now, suddenly stood. Wait, what? What's happening? Ava turned to him. Check your inbox. Then she looked around the room. Every screen lit up. Phones buzzed. Tablets chimed. The servers, the press, even the DJ by the side door reached for his iPad. Ava didn't smirk. She didn't gloat. She just spoke. You wanted to see power look a certain way. She paused. Now you'll see what it looks like when it moves. Silence didn't return to the room. It collapsed. No violins, no laughter, just the cold hum of a dozen phones vibrating at once. Patricia's face lost its color. Her husband fumbled with his phone, mouth open but no words forming. The security guard stepped back, instinctively. And then, from 2 tables over, a young woman finally stood. She'd been quiet the whole night, watching, lips tight. Her name tag read Lena Thomas, hospitality fellow. Now her voice rose clear and sharp. I saw her name. It's on the sponsor list. Tier 1. Top line. Eyes turned. Patricia flinched. You called her fake, Lena continued, voice cracking with adrenaline. You laughed. You grabbed her card like she was stealing. And now you're quiet? A few guests started nodding cautiously at first. Another voice. She didn't raise her voice once. But you tried to humiliate her in public. Someone began filming. And then from the press table, a low voice added, She's Monroe Holdings? The Ava Monroe? Damn. The whisper became a wave. Every corner of the room shifted. Phones tilted toward Ava now. Faces reoriented. The energy rewired. Patricia backed up a step. I didn't know. Ava turned, calm. Her eyes met Patricia's, but her voice was now addressing everyone. And that's the problem. You don't ask. You assume. She looked at Lena, gave her a slight nod. Lena's shoulders straightened like someone had just handed her armor. More servers stepped back from Patricia's table. One of them, an older black man in his 50s, whispered as he passed her. We knew who she was the moment she walked in. We were just waiting to see who didn't. Ava turned to the room. This isn't just a gala. It's a mirror, and now you've seen yourselves in it. No applause yet. Just breath held. The kind of silence that comes right before judgment or redemption. Patricia wasn't done. Her pride wouldn't let her be. She straightened her back, sucked in a breath, and forced a smile that didn't touch her eyes. This is absurd, she snapped. She shows up in a dress with no label, with one card, no entourage, and suddenly she runs the room? She looked around, hoping for support, but the laughter was gone. The smirks had vanished. Still, she doubled down. People like this always pull the same stunt. Dress down, act innocent, and then play the victim when they're challenged. The phrase, people like this, cracked across the marble floor like lightning. Someone gasped. A man near the dessert table muttered, Nope. Even her husband took half a step away. Ava didn't respond right away. She didn't have to. The room did it for her. Lena stepped forward, eyes blazing. People like this? You mean the ones who built this industry from the outside in? The ones you can't buy or boss around? She turned to the crowd. She didn't pull a stunt. You did. Oh, now phones were up everywhere. Lights blinking, screens glowing. The ballroom wasn't hosting a gala anymore. It was hosting a reckoning. Patricia's face tightened. Oh, please, you're all just looking for a headline, a hashtag. She's manipulating you. But from the back, a voice rang out deep, firm, clear. She doesn't have to manipulate anything. You humiliated yourself. Everyone turned. It was the man in the silver tux board member of one of the luxury hotel chains Ava held shares in. He walked calmly to the center of the floor. My company would be bankrupt if not for the capital Ava injected during the pandemic. We owe her more than a seat at this gala. We owe her our survival. The room froze. Patricia's mouth parted. No words coming. Ava finally spoke, soft but undeniable. I didn't come to be seen, I came to watch. She paused, then added, and now I know exactly who stays on my list and who's already off it. Ava turned slightly, her heels silent on the polished marble, her dress still unwrinkled despite the storm circling her. She pulled out her phone again. Jared, she said, not looking away from Patricia, push the list live. A pause. Then Jared's voice came through, steady, unbothered. Confirmed. The blackout file is now active. First wave notifications go out in 60 seconds. All around the ballroom, pockets of tension tightened managers, investors, vendors reaching for phones, refreshing inboxes, tapping screens. Patricia's husband glanced at his, then stared like he'd just watched his empire shrink. No, this can't be, he muttered, scrolling. Ava stepped forward, one calm stride that felt like a verdict. You see, she said, addressing the entire ballroom now, I didn't come here to start drama. I came here to draw a line. Is at her. She raised her hand slightly, fingers barely moving. And as if on cue, the projection screen behind the stage flickered. Then it lit up. A black background, white text, simple. Monroe Holdings, vertical bar, blackout notice, Gala Ritz protocol. Names appeared, Langford Properties, Helena Lux Group, 6 Crown Catering, Vintros AV Rentals, De la Vaupierre, Associates. Each name faded in slowly, then turned red. Terminated. Whispers erupted, then gasps. From one corner, a woman in a navy jumpsuit yelled, "We're on that list!" A man beside her replied, "You didn't see this coming?" At Patricia's table, a glass fell over. Wine spread across the white linen like a red flag. Her voice trembled now. "You're punishing everyone. Over what? A misunderstanding?" Ava didn't blink. "No," she said simply. "I'm correcting the room. She turned toward the sponsors' table, a long stretch of white florals, champagne flutes, and corporate name cards. To those not listed, she continued, you may want to check your statements. You'll see new terms arriving by midnight. Some of you will have expanded access. Some of you will be reassessed. One of the guests raised a hand, a young VP, barely 30, eyes wide. What about us at Haven Suites? We weren't involved in any of this. Ava nodded once. Then I suggest you make that clear, publicly. Another ripple, not of fear this time of urgency. Phones started recording. The press table was already halfway through tweets. Number Gala blackout trended in real time. Patricia stood now, full height, but it no longer looked like confidence. It looked like denial refusing to accept defeat. This is insane, she spat. You don't get to just shut people out. You don't get to play God. Ugh. Ava took one slow breath, as if to give the room a chance to catch up, then answered, I'm not playing. She stepped aside, allowing the projection screen to show one final name. Ritz-Carlton Global Events, suspended. Gasps turned to silence. Someone dropped their champagne flute. It shattered. And then applause. First slow, then stronger. Coming not from the VIP tables but from the staff, the servers, the assistants, the people who had watched all of it unfold in silence. Until now. Ava didn't smile. She didn't need to. The room had changed, and it would never look the same again. The applause didn't stop. It grew. From the back of the room, a tall man in a navy blazer raised his phone and said clearly, Posting now. I stand with Ava Monroe. The words echoed louder than the claps. Then another voice. She's the reason we're still in business after 2020. Show some respect. Within seconds, the ballroom transformed. The same tables that once turned away from Ava now turned toward her. Phones up, eyes locked. One guest removed his name badge, flipped it over, and scribbled, "Number, with Monroe." Ava didn't flinch. She let the tide rise on its own. Patricia, still frozen near the center, scanned the crowd in disbelief. "You're all sheep," she snapped. "She just made a scene, weaponized a party." Lena fired back from the side. "Number, she made a point. You made it a scene." The older server from before stepped forward again, now with his tray lowered to his side. "Been working these events 23 years, he said. "Never seen someone check a room without raising her voice." A ripple of agreement moved through the staff. Even the DJ, half hidden in a booth, whispered to his assistant, "She flipped this place upside down and didn't even blink." Then, the moment hit the media wall. Screens lit up. Twitter, TikTok, X. Clips from phones across the room exploded online. Monroe CEO humiliated at Ritz, then shuts it down in real time. This is how quiet power moves. That card she carried? It bought the whole damn table. Ava finally turned to the press row, her voice steady. "You want your headline? Here it is. Power is not in how loud you speak. It's in how calmly you end the room you never needed to impress." The chaos had cooled, but tension still simmered beneath the glittering lights. From the far side of the ballroom, a man in a velvet tux, the same one who had laughed earlier at Patricia's joke, stepped forward now, sheepish. "Ava," he began, clearing his throat. I owe you an apology. I didn't realize who you were. I didn't realize the weight you carry." Ava turned toward him, slow and composed. Her gaze didn't soften. "I'm not upset that you laughed," she said. "I'm concerned that it took a title for you to stop." He opened his mouth, closed it again, stepped back. Another woman, blonde, mid-30 seconds, PR executive approached next, hands folded nervously. "I just want to say, I respect what you did tonight. It was bold, brave. If there's ever a chance to collaborate, our firm..." Ava raised a hand, cutting her off gently but firmly. "You stayed silent while I was mocked. You watched, wine in hand, and let it happen. A pause. Now you want a contract." The woman flushed, nodded quietly, and walked away. At that moment, Lena, still near the center, whispered to someone beside her, "She's not rejecting people, she's remembering." And Ava was. Every face, every silence, every seat that stayed filled while she was insulted. She didn't need vengeance. She had memory, and memory was sharper than revenge. Just then, a server approached her with a fresh glass of water, mid-50 seconds, eyes kind. "Miss Monroe," he said softly. "On behalf of the staff we knew, we just couldn't say." Ava looked at him for a long moment, then nodded once. "You said it now." He smiled. "We'll remember you longer than they will." Outside the ballroom doors, reporters were gathering. But inside, Ava was doing something much rarer, redrawing the room's center. And not everyone was invited back in. The double doors swung open. Flashbulbs cracked the night air. Reporters surged forward like a tide. Ava stepped out, flanked by no one. No PR rep, no security detail. Just herself, same white dress, same quiet strength. A voice called out, "Miss Monroe, is it true you pulled $4? $1 billion tonight?" Another, "Do you plan to sue the Ritz or the Langford Group?" Ava didn't stop walking, but she didn't ignore them either. She reached the top of the marble stairs, turned slowly, and faced the wall of cameras. One breath. Then her voice steady, deliberate. "This isn't about a dollar amount." Click, click, boom. Cameras devoured every word. "This is about recognition. About what it takes for people like me to be seen not just when we sign checks, but when we stand still." The reporters leaned in. "You saw a woman alone at a table and decided she didn't belong. You saw a dress without a label and assumed it came with no power." She paused, letting it sink in. "You don't need to apologize to me. You need to question why it took this much disruption for you to care." A journalist from the Financial Review shouted, "So what happens now?" Ava's eyes sharpened. "Now, the industry resets." She glanced over her shoulder, back at the glowing Ritz ballroom. "Monroe Holdings will be reviewing every hospitality partner we've touched, every vendor, every brand. If they confuse tradition with exclusion, we'll divest. If they think decorum means silence, we'll disrupt." One final beat. Then she added, "This industry has a memory problem. But tonight we gave it something to remember." Gasps, murmurs, then silence. She turned and walked down the stairs. Reporters scrambled to follow, questions flying, but Ava didn't slow down. At the curb, a black electric sedan waited unmarked, no chauffeur with gloves. The door opened, and she stepped in without fanfare. No one escorted her. No one needed to, because the world had just watched her escort an entire room out of its comfort zone, out of its blindness, and into a reckoning, and they would be playing that footage for years. The city was different. The dress was cheaper, but the voice was the same. Ma'am, this section is for VIP guests only. Ava had just turned 24. Fresh off a deal no one thought she'd land. A small acquisition, yes, but hers. First of many. She'd bought a department store lease in Miami, flipped it into short-term rental units, and sold the block within 6 months. It wasn't a seat at the billion-dollar table yet. But it was her seat, and tonight was supposed to be her moment to claim it. But the gala that year, it was at a rooftop bar in downtown Brickell. She came alone, invitation printed, pressed into her clutch, wore a simple black sheath dress she'd tailored herself. And still the security guard looked at her like she'd wandered in off the street. "Do you have an RSVP code?" he asked, tone flat. She had. She'd printed it, highlighted it. He barely looked before waving a woman behind her forward instead, blonde, designer heels, no code, no name check. "I'll be quick," Ava said, trying to explain. "I'm on the acquisitions list." "Sure," he'd cut in. Tight smile. "We've had a lot of confusion tonight. Please step aside." She remembered standing there in heels too tight, pride too fresh, watching the room glow just out of reach. And the worst part wasn't being turned away. It was how easy it was for the room to forget she'd ever been there. That night, she walked 3 blocks to a diner, took off her shoes under the booth, ate pancakes alone. She still had the invitation in her purse, still crisp. She kept it for years, not out of bitterness, out of proof, because she knew one day the same kind of room would call her name first, and she'd decide who else got to stay. Back in the present, inside the black sedan, Ava leaned her head back against the seat. The Ritz was already shrinking behind her. But the memory of Brickell, of being unseen, unheard, uncounted, didn't fade. It sharpened, because tonight hadn't been revenge. It was completion. And the version of herself from that rooftop, scared, tired, overlooked, was finally gone. Langford Group headquarters, 7:12 a.m., the morning after the gala. The boardroom was full, but not calm. Glass walls, downtown skyline, suits in varying shades of panic, phones buzzing, assistants whispering, laptops open but no one typing. At the head of the table, Charles Langford, founder, patriarch, real estate tycoon, sat motionless, jaw clenched, hands steepled, watching the livestock ticker on the wall bleed red. "We've lost 27 accounts since 2 a.m., the CFO said, voice barely above a whisper. 3 of them defaulted on renewals after receiving Monroe's public blacklist. Silence. The Ritz series has taken the worst hit. Monroe's holding group, controlled ad placements, event licensing, and at least a third of our luxury tier bookings. Another voice, younger, sharper. She didn't just pull funding, she rerouted it. "Hey, what do you mean?" Charles asked. The analyst turned her screen toward the board. "She's already redeployed capital, look." A map appeared, clusters of hotels and luxury event properties across Europe and the US, all now tagged with the Monroe Holdings insignia. She moved $4.1 billion into competitors who signed her equity inclusion clauses 6 months ago. This wasn't a tantrum, it was a surgical play. A low, grim groan rippled across the table. Patricia sat to the side, quiet, pale, makeup unblended from rushing in. Someone glanced at her. She looked away. Then Charles spoke. "So what's our move?" The PR director looked up from her tablet. "There's no apology that'll stick. Not now. The footage went viral in 40 countries. Number with Monroe is still trending. We can't outspin this." Charles slammed a hand on the table. "I'm not interested in spin. I want control back." The room tensed. Someone muttered under their breath, "You lost that," when she stood up. But no one had the courage to say it louder. Suddenly, Patricia straightened. She reached for the mic button in front of her. "I'll go public," she said. "I'll explain what happened. I'll say it was a misunderstanding, that I mistook her for someone else." Charles cut her off with a cold stare. "You didn't mistake her for someone else. You mistook her for less." The words landed like a slap. Even Patricia flinched. Then, the door opened. A junior assistant entered, eyes wide, holding a printout. She handed it to Charles. He scanned it, blinked, read it again. "What is it?" someone asked. Charles didn't look up. "She's bought into the board." The room froze. "What board?" the CFO asked cautiously. Charles dropped the paper on the table. "Our board." Gasps. A logo in the corner confirmed it. Monroe Holdings, 14.3% stake acquisition in Langford Group Class B shares, effective immediately. Ava Monroe was now a stakeholder, not just in money, in decision-making. "She's not burning us down," someone whispered. "She's buying the fireproofing." No one spoke for a long moment. Then Charles leaned back in his chair, exhaled, and for the first time in 30 years looked like a man who'd just been outplayed. Rome, Italy. 7 days after the Ritz Carlton reckoning, dawn stretched its golden fingers across terracotta roofs. Bells from Basilica San Clemente echoed gently through the cobbled alleys. In a city used to empires rising and falling, no one noticed that a new order was quietly solidifying, not in politics, not in palaces, but in power. Ava Monroe sat at the edge of her terrace, barefoot, her silk robe falling in clean lines. Her espresso had gone cold. She hadn't touched it. She didn't need caffeine. Clarity was fuel enough. Inside, her tablet lit up. A live call was already underway. 12 global executives, all muted squares, all waiting. The kind of men and women who once claimed time zones and dictated margins, now hesitating, blinking, unsure of how to speak first. Her camera was off, but her silence was louder than their introductions. "Miss Monroe, thank you for agreeing to... We're thrilled to explore more inclusive funding pathways with your..." One voice dared a joke. "You've certainly had quite a week," lit up our inboxes. Ava didn't laugh, didn't even look at the screen. She was scrolling, not through social media, through reminders. An RSVP sat unopened in her notifications. Ritz Carlton, Hong Kong. Annual Honors Gala. Status, pending. She tapped it. Same fonts, same gold leaf invites, same assumption that she'd want to be there. She tapped decline, paused, then typed one note in the comments field. "I built the table. They're still waiting for their invitation." She didn't send it to anyone. She just let it live there, somewhere in the digital ether, where systems stored regrets. Then her assistant's name lit up. Jared. "Langford officially confirmed 14.3% board stake. They're recognizing your voting rights, requesting private call." She replied with 2 words. "Observer only." Another ping. They also sent a gift basket. She smirked. "Fruit?" Organic olive oil and a note from Charles Langford. "Still avoiding the truth with garnish, I see." She stood, stretched. The screen blinked again. This time, Lena Thomas, the hospitality fellow who had spoken up at the gala, now in a black suit, smiling in front of the Geneva office. Caption: "First day, I'm ready. Thank you for the door." Ava stared at the message for a long second. Then, assign her to Adela, rotate her through Zurich, Florence, then Nye. Full track access. "Done," Jared typed. The camera feed on the corporate call hadn't moved. The execs were still trying to look important, but they didn't realize they were already in the second act, the part where they had become applicants, not equals. Ava didn't say a word. She clicked mute on the call, let them listen to themselves. She walked past her desk. It held no awards, no frames, just artifacts. A cracked champagne flute from her first successful deal. A subway pass from the city where she slept in her car. A napkin signed by her first investor who had to be convinced she wasn't someone's assistant. And finally, a leather envelope. She opened it slowly. Inside was the printed invitation from the Brickell Rooftop Gala, the one where, at 24, she had been told, "This section is for VIP guests only." That night, she ate pancakes alone. No camera crews, no applause, just a check and a cracked pride. She kept the invite not out of spite, but to track the difference, not between then and now, between rooms that judge and rooms that change. She put it away. The wind stirred the linen curtains, bells rang again. Her phone buzzed once more. New headline: Ava Monroe adds $4.1p to competitor holdings. Langford stunned by silent takeover. Another notification: Langford board meeting, live now. Observer, Monroe Holdings. She tapped in. Audio only. Charles Langford's voice rang through, polished, nervous. We're reviewing our partner criteria, and in the spirit of transparency, we welcome Monroe Holdings' presence as part of our restructured board. He paused. No reply. Just air. The kind that thickens when people realize they've lost control of the weather. Another board member stammered, "We'd love your perspective on next quarter's rollout. Perhaps even number." Ava thought the word, didn't say it. The meeting dragged on. She tapped mute all and set the tablet aside. Outside, she stepped back onto the terrace. The city below still moved. Tourists clicked photos. Bells kept tolling. A woman watered geraniums across the alley. But Ava's world didn't orbit them anymore. Now they orbited hers. She glanced once more at her calendar. Wednesday still blank. She created a new event. Event title, Florence Garden Dinner. Guests, Lena, Adela, Ray, Emiko. Location, private villa. No press. Note, no microphones. Just legacy. She closed the tablet. Because now, legacy wasn't something handed to her. It was something she handed forward. Not to the loudest voices, but to the ones who spoke up when it counted. And in that moment, without stepping foot in a press room, without signing another headline deal, Ava Monroe became something few ever managed to become. Permanent,